reality itself needs your evolution. That's a scary realization to have, that reality itself is the evolutionary process, meaning that the entire fabric of what makes all of reality even possible is evolutionary in and of itself, and you are a unique expression of that field. But this entire field that is trying to evolve and has been evolving for all of space-time is trying to evolve through you. And without you, without your unique fixing, without your unique tikkun, literally all of reality is unable to become the thing that it is actually capable of becoming, who we must become.
Hello and welcome everyone to One Mountain, Many Paths, the heart of the revolution, where our mission is, as Barbara Marx Hubbard and Marc Gafni together called, a planetary awakening in love through unique self symphonies. And we have a very, very special episode today because, as you all know, this is the last week of our summer program. Next week, Dr. Marc Gafni is going to be back with us. Yay. I know we're all very much looking forward to that. And we have been studying together this amazing book, The Evolution of Love, From Quarks to Culture, the Rise of Evolutionary Relationships in Response to the Meta-Crisis. And we have been on an incredible journey in these past 7 weeks, where everyone on the team, people who have been studying with Dr. Marc Gafni for over a decade, stepped forward into leadership, sharing our unique gifts, sharing how the Dharma, how this new story of value uniquely comes through us. And it has also been a very beautiful journey of the question, how do I make this real in my personal life? Because the Dharma is the Dharma, and that's beautiful, but we have to actually enact it, become it. We need to become Homo Amor, the new human and the new humanity. And we can only do that if we do it through our body and through our relationships. And so that is what we have been practicing in the last 7 weeks. And that is also our intention, even more strongly than ever, for this next year, this next academic year together, is all going to be about how do I make this real in my life. And that is also why we started our online academy, where we're going to actually be in community together, studying together. We're going to be talking a lot more about that today, what you can expect there. But today we're going to hear from myself together with Eli, and you've all met Eli, I think, before here. He's an amazing man who stepped into working here together at the Center for World Philosophy and Religion, and he will be sharing on his personal story and also taking us on a journey of how we can actually live our unique story. But before we get into that, I want to give my words to Christina Tehel, who's going to do a beautiful Dharma recapitulation of last week's episode. Christina.
Thank you so much, Krista. So for the Dharma recap from last week's One Mountain, Many Paths, Eros as loving force to guide our life. Last week, Terry Nelson took us deeper into the teaching flowing from the evolution of love, from quarks to culture, a superb volume of the Great Library written by Dr. Marc Gafni with Dr. Zach Stein, Dr. Elena Maslova-Levine, and Kirsten Zohar. It is this articulation of a new story of value that intimacy, eros, and outrageous love are the evolutionary response to our time. Terry first took us into the personal, reminding us that the great questions of CosmoErotic Humanism are not abstract. Who am I? Where am I? And what ought I do? That 4 weeks after Terry's recent shoulder surgery, he said the answers felt simple. Who am I? my shoulder. Where am I? My recliner. What ought I do? Rest and whine. Yet, last week in One Mountain, he returned to the great field of mystery with us, speaking not just of pain and limitation, but of emergence into Eros. He shared a simple practice that our beloved Krista Josepha had shared 7 months ago, stepping into the woods each morning, looking at the skies and trees and saying, "Hello, God," which turns out to be a tantric act, an intimacy with the infinite intimate. As Dr. Marc Gafni has said, if you want to know how God feels hearing from you, multiply the most joyful moment of your life by 1,000. That is the delight of God when you speak. Saying, "Hello, God," each morning is no small thing. It is an act of holification. It weaves us back into the fabric of reality. Even a little intimacy makes the world more whole. Then Terry read again from the Evolution of Love, page 237. Today, God becomes more God through entering intimate relationship. Unquote. Each morning, prayer becomes a site where the infinite grows through our address. Each moment of connection ripples outward, drawing us into wholeness, connection, intimacy. In last week's Evolutionary Love Code resounded, which was read by Jamie Long so beautifully. Eros is the experience of radical aliveness, moving toward seeking, desiring ever deeper contact and ever greater wholeness. The evolutionary impulse throbs uniquely in every single one of us. Another word for intimacy is wholeness. To be guided by Eros is to live in right relationship with the whole as it lives in us and as we live in it. The teaching of last week unfolded through Terry's sacred autobiography. He told of striving for love so that achievement could win his father's satisfaction, of being salutatorian but not valedictorian, and feeling it was not enough. He told us of Eros sending him to Brazil, to Thailand, to the halls of Washington, D.C., and finally to personal development work where the masks of "so that I will be loved" were shattered by an encounter with unconditional love. Tears fell, walls broke, and Eros whispered to Terry, "You are loved, not for what you produce, but for who you are." We were taken into journeys of expanded consciousness, visions of angels holding him, voices saying, "You are welcome, held, loved, perfect as you are." And then the infinite intimate calling him back. Now it is time for you to get to work. You are needed. Always the same refrain, the experience of being at home in the universe, then the demand of responsibility. For the gift of life is not for hoarding, not for saving for later. It must be lived now. Carl Jung once said, "Nothing is more impactful on the lives of children than the unlived lives of their parents." And the evolution of love deepens this. Quote, "There is a deeper fear of death. It is the fear that you did not live the life that was yours to live." Unquote. The call of Eros is precisely this: to live fully, to love outrageously, to give uniquely. So we remember, your unique incarnation of value is needed. You, yours, your next evolutionary act sends ripples through the whole. Eros is not luxury, it is necessity. It is the very force that guides a human life beyond fear, beyond withholding, beyond the narrow ego, into communion with God, with each other, and with the cosmos itself. Terry thanked Eros for guiding him towards greater connection and greater wholeness. And now, as I close, I thank the great library for bringing us these amazing books, and to Dr. Marc Gafni for charting this path of evolutionary intimacy. And now I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred spaces of one mountain, many paths. And I turn my word to you, Eli Marciano.
Hello, all from all around the globe. Thank you, Krista, for bringing us in with some gorgeous singing. And thank you, Christina, for recapitulating all of Terry's lovely words from last week. This week is focused on the theme of rebirth, and we're focusing on the theme of rebirth for a few different reasons. Firstly, because right now is a time on the planet where it is quite clear that humanity itself is in a process of rebirth. We have crises going on in so many different vectors, whether it's environmental or technological or personal. We are seeing this mass expanse of crisis happening and breaking out all over the world. And as Dr. Marc Gafni always says, every crisis is a birth. And I was reflecting on this idea of rebirth and realizing that really the whole draw into spirituality and religion and self-development, whatever label you want to put on it, is the process of rebirth. We have a dream or a vision or an idea of how our lives and our communal lives could improve. And that triggers this deep, deep desire for a rebirth. Another word for rebirth is renaissance. And as we've been speaking about for the last few weeks, we are in a process right now of creating the new renaissance on planet Earth, because humanity is in this process, as we just said, of transforming and becoming something that needs to be an unrecognizable version of humanity, where we have so much crisis happening, and how are we going to overcome that? So for the last 9 months, I have been working at the center, and for this time, the pure intention in my heart has been, how can we start to make a embodied experience of becoming homo more? And I showed up at the center with that kind of seed in my heart, but it just happened that Marc, Krista, and the whole team at the center were looking to create something like that at the same time. So we're going to tell a bit of that story throughout today, but then we're also going to talk about the archetypal story of rebirth, which is so beautifully demonstrated by the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. And then at the end of this call, we're going to guide you into a small kind of workshop where you can kind of go through this process on your own of what it's like to go from caterpillar to butterfly in your own personal experience. So we're going to be coming at rebirth from a bunch of different angles, and it's very exciting. And to get this started, I'm going to pass it off to Krista and Jamie to share this archetypal story.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so excited that we're talking today about the butterfly and about this beautiful image of the chrysalis rebirthing itself. For me, in my personal journey, studying in the Dharma studying for 13 years, and then really stepping in deeply in working with the center for the last 5 years, and also studying with Dr. Marc Gafni in Holy of Holies, I've always had this mystical sense of being spun into a cocoon. And I was at a place in my life, like before, where I was very expressive and outgoing, and I was making a lot of videos on Facebook, and there was always this, I want to say now, blabbering, like sharing, the need to share and express. And that was a beautiful period. And then when I started really stepping onto a path and really going deeper with myself, I felt like my soul and the goddess herself was spinning me in a cocoon. And that has been the journey that I have been on for the last 5 years, feeling how she's wrapping herself around me, and how I am rebirthing myself. And in that journey, I've always had, once in a while, a flash of the butterfly that can and will grow from that. And in one of a writing practice visualization, I had this beautiful experience of that butterfly being born, and it was facing the greatness of my soul, and it was facing what we are calling here Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapiens, the new human, like all of us living our full potential. And what does that look like? And what does our soul look like? And our souls, or our unique selves is a better word to say it, are extraordinarily beautiful. And so witnessing the potential of what we can birth together, in that visualization, I could feel how that butterfly was spreading her wings and opening up and spreading and spreading and spreading. Huge wings, beautiful colors. And she was just like shimmering like that, and was like, here I am. And seeing that greatness of what we are birthing here together is also an image of the new humanity, an image of possibility. And the goddess was also whispering in my ear in that moment, like almost like, what are you thinking? Why are you in such a rush? Like, be patient, because look at how big I am. Look at how beautiful I am. This is going to take a little bit of time. And so in this process that Eli is beginning to describe, like for the past 9 months, we have been feeling into the undercurrent of what wants to be born here. Something new wants to be born here at the Center for World Philosophy and Religion, and in the space between us. And that new that wants to be born, I feel it is very much about us, about community. Because as you all know, probably last year, we had a full-on radical focus on birthing 50 oral essays. And oral essays are these beautiful books, and we have 50 of these, and last year we published 37 of these from our One Mountain Many Paths episodes. So we took all of Barbara's teachings, all of Marc's teachings, we transcribed them, we edited them, beautifully laid out on the page, as you can see. Very, very, very beautiful. And we birthed that. We did that last year. And so there was a huge focus on what we're calling the Great Library. We are publishing a Great Library, which is the Dharma, like the downloading of the Dharma, the downloading of the new story of value, and articulating that. And of course, Marc is brilliant in downloading that and bringing that down and working together at the think tank, together with Zach Stein and many other people, writing, studying, researching, articulating so very precise. What is this new vision on what it means to be a human being? And so that is what we birthed last year. And in a sense, we created like one big leg of our organization, which is our publishing house. We now have a publishing house. We know how to publish books. Together with Aubrey Marcus, we have started the World Philosophy and Religion Press. We're also working together with Integral Publishers. So we have a whole way to bring books out into culture, which is amazing and which is needed. In a sense, for me, that part of the organization feels, you could say, like the masculine, like it's the word. It is the new world religion. It is as a context for our diversity. It is the Great Library. But, and in a way, I would also want to describe it as the seed. It's the seed of insight, of knowledge. But in order to birth something, as we all know, we need both a seed and we need an egg. And so what we need to do is we need to fertilize our egg with the seed. And what that means is that we actually have to receive the Dharma on a much deeper level, and also on a very personal and intimate level. And the way that you can imagine doing that is by actually taking the transmission that is here and bringing it into our bodies. And we can only do that if we're willing to slow down. And so that is my intention as we're opening up here, to really feel, how can I receive this deeper in my body? How can I fertilize my egg so that I can become the embodiment of Homo Amor, so that I can bring it into life, breathe it into life in my own body, in my own life. And the goddess, she really needs us to place our attention on what she's giving us here, to really not take it for granted, because I'm always noticing myself, like there's a way of listening where I can listen with one part of my brain, of my mind, or my understanding. But there's also a way of listening that it's like a meditation, and I'm really, like I said, feeling it in my body and allowing it to really sink into all of my being. And so I want to invite us to all feel what we're holding here, how precious it is, and to place our attention on it. And maybe just take a breath together. So I want to go on a short meditative medicine journey where we're going to be reading from the book, and we're going to be reading in a way that we're slowing down. Because I notice myself, I can read this book from my mind and I'm like, oh, I want to get from the beginning till the end. Like you read a study book, like you learn in school, like you have to read it beginning to end. And that's a beautiful way to read it because we want to understand everything. But there's another way to read it, and that's almost like a Bible. And really seeing this as a sacred text, because these words are so dense and every word is a whole world. And it's so precise, like every sentence you can meditate on for a day for the rest of your life. And it has the potency of enlightenment. And we can only fully receive like the codes that are hidden in this text if we slow down and if we read it like a meditation. And then we can allow that text to really enter our bodies, because in our bodies are these codes, are these evolutionary love codes, and they are dormant and they are waiting to be unlocked. And so to read the text as a sacred medicine, to unlock the hidden codes within ourselves, to unlock the butterfly within ourselves. So I'm first going to start with some music, and then me and Jamie are going to read the text. So I want to invite you to be in meditation, however that is for you. Maybe you want to lie down, maybe you want to sit up straight, open your heart, however it is good for you. And then receive it as a reading of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So Jamie will embody the divine masculine, I will embody the divine feminine. And he and she are going to read to us this beautiful text. But first, let's listen to what the egg wants to tell us. The caterpillar goes through a powerful process before it emerges as a butterfly. It begins with massive consumption. The caterpillar eats as much as 100 times its weight every day. At a certain point, it is too bloated to continue. This is the beginning of the crisis. So the caterpillar hangs itself up. Its skin dries into a chrysalis. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar digests itself until there is only soup left, with the exception of so-called imaginal cells, which have been dormant in the caterpillar's old life. In the process of metamorphosis, they are alert to one another to form highly organized small groups, called imaginal discs. Imaginal discs are like blueprints of the future body parts of the butterfly, which begin to form its adult body. The imaginal cells hold the memory of the caterpillar's future, the butterfly. They are the seeds of imagination already present in the old before it begins to break down. The imaginal cells are not generic. They are holding a unique vision of each dimension of the butterfly that needs to emerge.
The imaginal discs of our world are the voices that see the coming breakdown and are already imagining the possibility of a butterfly, a new world. But the systems of society move in myriad ways to choke the seeds of imagination from the nourishment they need to bloom. The imaginal discs are not resourced. They are marginalized, dismissed as fringe, or even attacked in more aggressive ways. But when the crisis they have long predicted finally erupts in the existing society, it will be resolved in the vision of the imaginal discs. The imaginal discs feed on the soup. They literally ingest the crisis and turn it into the evolutionary driver of new life birthed by new imagination. Their willingness to ingest the new reality is the cause for their transformation into imaginal cells.
And just like the old world systems, the caterpillar's immune system initially fights the imaginal cells, and it doesn't allow them to proliferate. But as the immune system, together with the whole structure of the old, breaks down, they keep emerging faster and faster. The imaginal cells are driven by the search for new intimacies and new coherences with their partners and co-creators. They begin to intimately link with each other. New configurations of intimacy cohere and emerge. The crisis of imagination is resolved in the imaginal cells coming together in imaginal discs, a precursor of what we call unique self-symphonies. With the new intimacy comes a new freedom. The cells are now free to turn their unique function in the life of the butterfly. The imaginal cells turn into the butterfly, which emerges out of the chrysalis.
This is a compelling archetypal story about how crisis precedes transformation. It is not fairy tale or myth, but a story rooted in scientific facts sourced in nature. The old system breaks down. New visions begin to emerge, but the old guard shoots them down. We have called this stage of the process in other essays the murder of Eros. The old guard represents the old level of consciousness. This is the immune system of the caterpillar, which views the new consciousness of the imaginal cells as a threat. The immune system moves instinctively to destroy these harbingers of a next level of consciousness, the butterfly, the next level of humanity. Eventually, however, enough of the imaginal cells are lured together, the old guard dissolves, and a beautiful butterfly emerges from the chrysalis.
The chrysalis embodies the core structure of evolution. Crises serves as evolutionary drivers.
The new universe story and a new vision of identity begin to emerge in the fourth Big Bang. At the core of the fourth Big Bang is the fulfillment of Homo sapiens in Homo Amor.
Thank you, Jamie. Beautiful. Thank you. So with that, we're going to turn to Eli, who's going to take us on a journey to feel how this plays out in our personal lives and what is the metamorphosis that we are called to make.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Krista, for that beautiful read-in. And yeah, the metamorphosis, the process of going from a being that you are right now into a being that is almost unimaginably different. Like a caterpillar becomes a thing that can fly. And that is a fact of reality based in nature, based in evolution, that type of transformation is possible. And that's the type of space that we are in as humanity. Today, what I want to take you guys through is a little deep dive that Marc brought me on one day when I was at the center in Vermont. Marc and I were on the porch and we had this discussion of 10 steps of discovering your unique evolution, your unique transformation, your unique metamorphosis. So I kind of want to bring you guys through these 10 steps that he guided me through because I think it's a beautiful way to really get an embodied sense of how your own life can start to evolve. So, step one is asking the only question that matters. And the way Marc said it to me was that he looks me in the eyes and he goes, "Why the fuck are you here?" and I was like taken aback for a second. I was like, "Oh, yeah, that really is the essential question, isn't it? Why are you here?" It's it's a wild question to ask when you start to strip away the job or the success measurements that people have given you in the past, or some sort of maybe idea that you had as a kid of why you're here, and you just really return to this question of what what am I doing here? And whenever I go to that point, I'm also brought to like a more universal scale when I think about all of the different things that have to be constantly happening throughout the entire cosmos for you and I to exist right now to have this conversation. It's it's just it's just mind blowing and heart blowing that that's even possible. So I want to take a moment before I continue down this 10-step path of just pausing here for a second, and I'm going to give you guys like 30 seconds, just a very short moment to feel into that question on your own. Like, why am I here? Because these 10 steps are going to reveal a bit more of how you can guide yourself down that path. But I think it's very good that we all take a moment and, as Krista was saying, slow down enough to sense where we relate to that question on our own. So I'd love for everyone to just take these 30 seconds to go into yourself and feel, okay, if I were to strip away all the ideas that I've had about what I am, why I'm here, what's like the most essential thing I can get to? And of course, this is a meditation you could do for hours on end or a lifetime on end. But for just the next 30 seconds, focus in on that, and then we'll take the next step. Why are you here? So then Marc looked at me and after I kind of like stumbled through some sort of answer, I think I probably told him something like to spread love. Like that's kind of like the most essential thing I can get to right away. But he just kind of looks at me and he's like, "All right, there are two real fundamental answers to this question. Uh, the first is that you're alive for a reason and you have purpose. Why are you here? There's a reason. The second option is you're not actually alive for a reason and you don't have a purpose. And step 2 of this process is taking both of those options very seriously. Because if you're just to say like, oh, I have a purpose, and you just kind of say that nonchalantly, then you haven't actually faced off with the really scary and potential fact of reality that what if this is actually meaningless? What if this is actually purposeless? And of course, if it is purposeless, then do whatever you want with your life. You can literally just go out and spend your life however you see fit, and that's great if that's the answer. However, if there is a possibility that you're here for a purpose, if there's even a possibility that there is a why to your life, a true reason that you were built, that you came into creation, then it becomes very clear that our first mode of action should be figuring out what is that? What is that purpose? Because that can become your guiding light. So I'm kind of sitting there mind blown at this point. Like, yeah, I've faced off with that question for a long time of purposelessness, and it's a very scary hole. And I'm kind of freaking out because I'm like, aren't you the guy who's supposed to be helping me figure out what my purpose is? And he goes, well, the good news is step 3, there is 2 very simple ways to know that your life does have purpose. It's like, oh, okay, shoulders can relax a little bit. We can fall in. I'm like, okay, well, what are they, Mark? And he goes, first of all, the structures of the cosmos. If you look at the structure of reality itself, there's always parts within holes, within holes, within holes, meaning that our cells are a part within a greater whole of our body, within a greater whole of our room that we're all sitting in, within a greater whole of our country, our continent, within a greater whole of this planet, within a greater whole. And when you see this stack of parts within wholes, and the part itself becomes a part of the whole, then you realize that innate in the fabric of reality is this purpose. The fact that you are a part within a whole literally means that you are a part of something greater, AKA, you have purpose, you have reason, you have sense, you have a story. So that's part 1. But part 2, even more directly, is our own inner knowing, meaning that the moments when you feel needed and when you rise to meet a need and when you express creatively to meet whatever that need is, those are the moments when you feel most engaged with life. You feel most satisfied. You feel most fulfilled. So, both on this more intellectual, cosmic level, you see that you're a part within a greater whole, you have purpose, but also on a very visceral, internal level. If you pause for a moment, which I'd love everyone to do right now, is think about that experience of when you felt most alive. What are the moments like for me when I think about that? I often come to like spending time with friends where we're having a deep discussion and I can be there for them when they really need me. And I can help them, I can ask them questions that help them move through some sort of difficult situation in their life. And in those times, I feel completely alive. I'm like fully there. I'm fully locked in. I'm paying attention to every little detail of them. And in that process, it has just become self-evident that I have purpose, that I have reason to be here. So that is the second way that we can know, yes, you are needed here. Yes, you have purpose. And that allows us to move through this state of questioning whether life has purpose or not. And the beautiful thing is, once you have that thought pattern of being able to go to those 2 steps of proving to yourself that you have purpose and you have reason, you can always come back to that same thought experiment to drop you back into your reality and be like, I don't need to keep having an existential crisis about if I should be here or not. I am here for a reason, and I can settle in that experience. So then the question becomes, well, is there a like universal purpose, or is there subjective purposes, and what is that? How do we even take a next step? And that's kind of what I'm asking Marc at this point. And he goes, well, step forward of the process is realizing uniqueness, and realizing that uniqueness is a part of reality all the way up and all the way down the evolutionary chain, meaning all the way down to literally the atoms that form all of your reality right now. Think about the fact that if any of these atoms were the exact same, this reality wouldn't exist. Every single micro particle of this existence has to be unique for this existence to even be able to create itself, which is wild. It's really wild to think about. So, of course, the uniqueness that is within every little molecule builds up into your embodied larger human experience of uniqueness as well. So, of course, if we're talking about purpose, and now we know that there's this cosmic purpose, there's also this embodied sense of purpose, and now we can see this uniqueness within all of us, it becomes clear, okay, well, I have a unique purpose. There's something here that is my role to play, that is mine to do. But what is that? Where do I go from here? And that's when Marc was bringing me deeper and deeper into this thought experiment, and showing me, okay, well, number 5 is to realize that transformation is the truth of reality. So we have uniqueness as a truth of reality, and then we also have transformation as a truth of reality, meaning that literally every culture, every discipline of science, every religion, every lineage across space time has realized the same revelation, that reality is transformation. Meaning that if you look at science, we've come to this discovery of evolution. But if you look at any religious path or spiritual path, you see that it's all about a clarifying or a purifying or an evolution of your soul or consciousness, whatever words you would want to use for that. So, of course, this is really the process of us becoming more whole. When you talk about clarifying or purifying or self development, all it is at its essence is us becoming more whole. And evolution is this same process where you have these uh, micro molecules and little atoms that then are coming together to form a greater whole together, that form then cells, which form greater wholes together, which eventually form a human body. So then when you see this on every single level of evolution and of existence, you start to realize, okay, not only am I this unique process, but I'm also a unique evolutionary process. And that starts to get you a lot closer to what purpose really means and what purpose is at its core. Because when you first think like, okay, well, I could have a purpose in this massive cosmos, you could have any purpose, and that's very overwhelming. It's like, well, what purpose do I choose if I could literally think of anything? But you actually can't choose anything. You are actually incredibly unique. And you have in your life a very, very specific transformation and evolution, which is beautiful because then you don't need to keep trying to come up with, okay, how do I change all of reality? No, it's how do I change me? And that is a process that is by its nature changing all of reality. So that leads to point 6, which is that your unique purpose is your unique transformation. Now, this also goes back to the fact of us putting these two last pieces together of you're unique and reality is transformation. But when they come together, there's this concept from the lineage of Solomon, which is your unique tikkun, or tikkun is really the lineage statement, the phrase, which means your unique fixing. Because when we think about your unique purpose, your unique transformation, again, it can feel overwhelming because me personally, I have a million ways that I would love to transform. Like I want to get better at sports. I want to have better friendships. I want to whatever. There can be a million things that I would want to grow in. However, when I've started to think about my transformation more from this angle of unique tikkun, it's been so grounding, because unique tikkun translated means your unique fixing. And by fixing, you can then start to hone in on, okay, what are the parts of me that are not whole, that actually are desiring deeper wholeness? And as you start to clarify, and this is a beautiful writing exercise, we don't have time for it right now, but I would encourage everyone to do this, and we'll put it in the community later as a practice, that when you can actually start to write down all of the ways in which you uniquely want to become more whole, you start to tap into a much more clarified idea of your purpose, because suddenly it's not just about, okay, how could I make more money, or how could I get more success? It becomes, what are the things in me that can be fixed? And by fixed, we mean create more wholeness. So in terms of that process, I kind of came to four questions that you can ask yourself after you do that kind of brainstorm of all the ways that you would like to become more whole. Then you can start to ask yourself these four things that can really clarify if these are actually the unique tikkun that you feel like you should be going through at this time. And the first is, does engaging with this process of fixing actually move me from a state of fragmentation towards greater wholeness, both internally and or externally? So if that's true, then you're really on the right track, that this is going to be something that's going to be truly fulfilling to move through. And the next is, how can I know when I've actually done this transformation? Because a lot of us can maybe say, especially those of us who come from a more spiritual or esoteric background, it's easy to say something like, "Oh, I want to become more love." Like what I said was my initial purpose when Marc asked me this. I was like, to spread love. But what does that actually mean? How can you actually show and realize that experience? Because if you can't actually see your transformation happening or feel your transformation happening, then you have no way to know if you're going through the transformation. So I encourage everyone, if you're at a point with discovering your unique tikkun, your unique process of becoming more whole, to make sure that whatever it is, you get it to a point where you can see it either physically based on an experience external to you, such as if you were going through a process of becoming more loving in your relationship. Maybe that's something that you want to improve, is, I would like to become more whole in how I engage with others. That is a bit too vague. But I mean, it's beautiful, but we need to clarify it more so we can actually see that it's a transformation we've undergone, such as, maybe the thing that I notice that is stopping me from that is that when I'm in a conversation with my beloved, I often get triggered and completely want to just turn away from the conversation, and I do. And then all of a sudden, when you have that moment, you're like, okay, now I see the thing that actually needs to become more whole. And the moment that I'll actually know that I've gone through this unique tikkun, that I've actually done this unique fixing, is when I'm in that conversation, same trigger hits, all of my body wants to turn away, but I'm able to sit and stay and pause. And that is how you then know that you've actually gone through this transformation into a greater whole. So that's a very good way to know if you're to make sure that whatever you're finding as your unique tikkun is truly guiding you in the right direction. And a last couple of questions you can ask yourself is, one, am I uniquely suited for this tikkun? Like, does it leverage my specific story? Is it actually about my wounds and my gifts and my risks? Is it really me? And the last question would be, can I make this unique tikkun even smaller or clearer? So as I said earlier, with the relationship example, the more clear and specific you can become, the more powerful these processes of transformation become in your life. Because alchemizing, like the alchemical process of becoming something different, or the process of becoming a caterpillar to butterfly, you need those imaginal cells that are laying down the blueprint of the thing that you're becoming. But if those imaginal cells are not specific and clear, then you're not going to actually be able to make that transformation. So those were the first 6 steps, and I'll go one more. There's 3 more after that, but I think that this is the last most important one, and I don't want to go over time. So the massive problem I think a lot of us run into after we have maybe even clarified an idea of like the person we want to become, we have our goals, we got our mission. The issue can be, if you're anything like me, it's like, well, why should I do that? Like it's beautiful, and of course there's this innate feeling of like, oh yeah, I want to become that, but sometimes I'm just tired, and I'm like, it as Krista and Jamie read, when you're in that process of becoming the butterfly, which Krista can attest, I've been going through this type of thing while starting to work for the center and downloading all of this dharma into my body, is that the caterpillar starts to reject all of the imaginal cells. The new image of who you are actually capable of becoming is so intimidating to a little caterpillar with legs, because you're saying I can actually grow wings. That's a terrifying transition to make, to leave the ground if you're a ground creature. So think about how, and I'd like to say to all of you, people who are on a path of going from Homo sapien to Homo amor and actually moving through this transition on your own, and I'm sure you've been people who have been on the path for years or months, however long it's been, that it's scary. It is very scary, and it's easy to turn away from that process and to back away from it. And that's where I think the last point I'd like to make here is the fact that reality itself needs your evolution. That's a scary realization to have, that reality itself is the evolutionary process, meaning that the entire fabric of what makes all of reality even possible is evolutionary in and of itself, and you are a unique expression of that field. But this entire field that is trying to evolve and has been evolving for all of space-time is trying to evolve through you. And without you, without your unique fixing, without your unique tikkun, literally all of reality is unable to become the thing that it is actually capable of becoming, who we must become. That's why it is who we must become and not who we might become if we feel like it and we have enough energy on a certain day. No, it's all of reality is beckoning you, is desperately pleading through every single cell of your body for you to become that new thing. And that's that tipping point inside of the butterfly to caterpillar process, where the imaginal cells start to overwhelm the old cells, and you start to realize, no, the only way is forward. The only way is the wings. The only way is through, even if it means the extreme and excruciating parts of having to let go of the comfort of the caterpillar, the comfort of the you that you were. So that was the last step. I think that was actually number 7 or 8, and it goes on even deeper, which I'll share another time. But that's just a little journey to give you a taste of the types of conversations that are had with Marc. Anyone, I don't know if you guys are hearing this siren, but there's an ambulance driving past. Anyone in here in this call who has spoken to Marc and had the blessing of being able to work with him has known and witnessed the fact that you don't have normal conversations with Marc. Every single interaction is evolutionary, and because that's him as a being, because he's an embodiment of Homo Amor, and the Homo Amor is the evolutionary being. So if you're interested in these types of in-depth transformation processes, this is what we are doing in our new academy. And I've heard some people say, that like as I've been expressing and doing more like advertising and marketing for this academy, I've heard some people be a little bit turned off by the language of like trying to bring people into a new program or something like that, where it feels maybe like a little pushy or a little salesy. And I totally understand that. I totally understand that. And the truth also is we live in a world where we need resources, we need finances to be able to create all of the types of environments that Marc is able to create at this time and that this whole team is able to create. So by building this academy and by building these sorts of processes out for people, what we're doing is not only going through our own personal transformation, but we're also investing in an organization that's building a transformation that's creating literally the thing that humans need right now is like these 8 steps that I just read to you guys, 7 steps that I read to you guys, is just one short conversation that imagine if we told our children this. Like like that kids in school were learning this type of thing. That is our goal. That is what we're building. So whenever Krista and I or anyone else is getting on a stage and saying, "Hey guys, we need you guys to sign up for this thing." One, it's going to be awesome for you because we're all going through this process together. And two, it's all about that future and how we're building that future. So yeah, we're building this Renaissance Academy, this new school where we are learning and going through this transformation on our own. I also want to say the price on the community is what we think is a very fair and real good, like solid price. It's actually a huge discount for the amazing stuff that you're getting. However, if anyone is financially incapable of paying that much at this time, that is totally okay. This is not about creating a financial barrier for people. Reach out to us and we will figure out a way to get you in there and figure out a price that's comfortable for you, because it is not about being exclusive. It's about being all inclusive, and it's about building something epic. So it takes all of us and it takes everything that we're doing. Yeah. So if you guys want to sign up for that, we have our first big course coming in a couple weeks. So next week, Dr. Marc Gafni comes back to One Mountain, Many Paths. And the week after that, we move into our first course with him on the path of the wounded hero. It's Marc, and you're getting him for an hour and a half for each session. So it is deep, and very exciting stuff. So Jamie will be putting that link in the chat here, so you guys can check that out. Thank you guys, and I'm sending you all love wherever you're at.
That was amazing. And I loved how you brought it like step by step by step. And this is such an example of how we need to bring in our unique gifts and our unique yearning and our unique desire. And sometimes it's frustrating, like I'm wanting something here that is not there, but that actually means that it's yours to generate it. And I feel like being in the process that Eli described for the last 9 months together, Eli finding his way in, studying, finding his way in, his desire, the center. And then after 9 months, today, we actually witnessed a birth of a unique self called Eli, sharing his beautiful, unique gifts so clearly. And this is exactly what is needed here, like step by step. How do I bring it into my life? So thank you so much for doing that. That was so powerful. I do want to add one thing, which is if you want an even deeper dive, a deeper step, there's also an opportunity to study in Holy of Holies together with Dr. Marc Gafni. Together with a small group, we're studying for a year, also 9 months, starting now this academic year, the Tree of Life. Come and talk to me if that's something you would like to explore. We're going to close.